Okay, so I'm jumping back a little bit. Um, can you talk a little bit about the mothers of invention and how your relationship with them, and they actually practiced right under your bedroom, right?
Yes, yes.
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness, yes. So every night, but of course, the first night they got there on the Thursday. I got there Sunday. Frank arrived Saturday. Frank arrived Sunday. They arrived Thursday, and they set up and they rehearsed on Thursday night. So it was a real shock underneath my room. But the interesting thing is, they were still playing at 11 o'clock at night, and two policemen came in. Oh, terrified me because all these guns and everything. And Gail rushed down and got Frank, and he came up looking pale because he obviously thought they'd found drugs. And he
Right.
was terrified. I mean, we haven't mentioned that, have we? That
No.
Frank did not take drugs. I mean, he looked like a drug addict, but he didn't, he didn't take drugs. And he was
Right.
against anyone who took drugs, and we weren't allowed to have them. Of course, I didn't. I wouldn't want one in anything near me. But
Right.
um, so he was frightened. He was afraid when he came up the stairs that they'd found drugs. That's why they were there. But instead, they said, "Well, we've had a few complaints about the noise of the music. It's 11 o'clock, and so could you, either soundproof the house or stop at 10 o'clock?" So from there on, they started at 6 every night, and they rehearsed till 10 for 4 hours every night.
Wow.
Well, not Sunday, Saturday and Sunday. I don't think it was just 5 days. Although
Right.
Frank would have done it the weekend, but I think the guys wanted, you know, time with their family. The thing about the mothers of invention is that Frank, the first night he got there, which is in May 1968, we were sorting out his records to put them in these big cupboards, hundreds and hundreds of them. And he stopped to say, because the other thing about Frank is that he could not do two things at once. So he
Right.
couldn't put the records in the thing and talk. He had to stop and talk. On stage, he would sing or play the guitar. He did not ever play the two together. You watch all the videos, you will see he never played and sang. He could only
Right.
sing or talk, and then he would play the guitar. Okay, so we were putting these records away, and then in silence, total silence. And then he would stop, and then he said, "I want to break up the mothers of invention." This was my, the first night there. I couldn't believe it because I had seen them at the Albert Hall in London. And I thought they were brilliant. I absolutely loved it.
Right.
Um, and he said, "Well, they can't play the difficult music I'm writing now. I'm writing such difficult stuff." So he said, "I want to can." Anyway, he didn't have the courage at the beginning to tell them because he said they're my friends and I don't want to hurt them. But as by the time June or July came, he was so fed up. He told them he was going to break it up, and they were furious. And Ian stepped in and said, "Well, look, if it's the problem of rehearsal, that you haven't got time to rehearse and write your music, then I'll rehearse them and then you come and join when they know the numbers." Because he was teaching them 10 bars. They would learn to play that. Then the next 10 bars, funny arrangement, I thought, and they learned it like that, 10 bars at
Right.
a time.
That's
So
interesting.
Ian said he would do it. And so Frank stayed, he was happy with that. And they kept that going for another year till August 1969, when he finally had had enough and he broke up the mothers finally. And he did it by phoning up Jimmy Carr Black and telling him to phone all the others and tell them. And they had
Oof.
no money given to them for the after that. And they had no week, they had no notice given. It was just, we've come back from tour of Canada. They were in Ottawa. They came back. When he got home, he phoned up Jimmy Carr Black and said, "We're breaking up the group." And they had a meeting about 3 weeks later. And in the meeting, Frank told them, or at least Herbie told them, that they owed Frank $10,000 and that they would have to pay it back. And
That's insane.
they were, they were shattered. I mean, I have
Right.
to tell you, I want to, this interview, unfortunately, somehow has ended up slaughtering Frank Zappa. I hope after we've done this question, we can talk about the wonderful bits of him because, it does seem like
it's not come across like that. It's for sure and I think it kind of goes without saying. There's a lot of info out there about what an amazing like musician, and you've also said how he could really focus in on a person and make them feel like they were the only person in the room.
Yes, I will come to that. Yes, I will come. So I finish off this story. So they were so furious. You could see their anger in their faces. He relented and said, well, let's forget the 10 grand and call it
Right.
quits. He dropped it. Yeah.
I can't even imagine having been in bands myself, like being in a band for that long and then being like, the band's over, plus you owe me 10 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was quite true. He was paying for it out of his own money when they were in, they didn't pay. The concerts didn't pay. He had to draw it from his own money and stuff. So it wasn't paying for him to do it. So, and he wanted to write different stuff and so on. He suggested that they could meet up again later after he'd had a break, which is what he wanted. But they weren't interested in that. And they went off and got other jobs. So
yeah,
that's how it was.